Hi, I'm Mark Brown, and this is my journey deeper into God's Word. It's great to have you along. I'm reading now from 1 Peter chapter 5, beginning at verse 8. Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that your brothers throughout the world are undergoing the same kind of sufferings. I love this image. It's so descriptive, absolutely perfect description of how the enemy, how the devil can affect us and the way he interacts with us, that he prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Now, I've never seen that in real life, but I've certainly seen it on documentaries. And literally that is what they do. They prowl around. And the key thing is, the point I want to draw out that stands out for me is what a lion does when it sees a weakened animal. What a lion does when it sees a weakened animal. It smells the fear, it smells the opportunity. And of course, all its senses change and it immediately starts vectors and working out how it's going to take down this wounded animal. It's an easy kill. Well, it's the same for us, just to take this image a step further, that if Satan is like a roaring lion, one of the moments that Satan can really, really strike at us and take us down is when we are weak and wounded. This morning I got up and immediately felt depressed. It was a very strong, drawn feeling that just wanted to drag me down. In fact, all I wanted to do was to stay in bed hiding. And I had to make a mental decision to get out of bed because I'd actually planned to go for a run, a long run. And it was very mechanical. Get out of bed, get ready for the run, go and do the run. But why I share this is the thoughts that came to my mind as I was experiencing that depression, as I was feeling wounded, is the enemy literally started to attack me and worked away at all my insecurities and started putting little thoughts in my head, telling me that I wasn't good enough and not capable, and telling me that this particular thing won't happen. And I went on my run, and I was well into my run, and of course I'm processing this, and I tell you, the first part of my run was incredibly difficult because not only is running not easy, but I had this heavy blanket of depression and was feeling wounded, and the devil was needling away. It was a roaring lion who'd sensed that one of God's children was wounded and was doing all it could to take me down. And it took a while. But what happened is I started to think, I am not going to allow this to beat me. I am not going to allow the enemy to strike. It was a mental decision. It wasn't a heart thing. It was a pure mental decision. It says in verse 9 of 1 Peter 5 verse 9, resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that your brothers throughout the world are undergoing the same kind of sufferings. And that's literally what I did. I took a mental decision to resist the devil. So as the insecure thoughts came up, I knocked them away. And I'm not saying it was easy, but I made the decision to stand firm and resist. Now, the Greek for stand firm, when it says standing firm, resist him, standing firm in the faith. The Greek for standing firm is actually a solid object versus liquid. So the same Greek word is used to describe a solid rock or a solid building as opposed to something liquid. So when the word here talks about us resisting him, pushing back, when it talks about us standing firm, it means we have to be solid like a rock. But what am I solid to? Well, that is where trust came in this morning. As I felt these attacks and I made the decision not to give in, to kind of, like liquid, I guess, just be washed away, that I decided to stand firm in the face of these attacks. That is a decision to trust God. To know that even though I didn't feel like it at that moment, and I didn't, I still intellectually made the decision that I would trust God and that God was with me. And that initial resistance, if you want, standing up to the roaring lion and not being scared, that initial resistance led to everything shifting. Actually, the depression lifting. And a stronger and even more stronger, which I have now, and this passage just so affirms me, this strong sense that God is with me. And in fact, the enemy has no power. When we are weak and wounded, we can forget that. But I have to remember that. Whatever happens, the enemy has no power. The second part is that I reached out and got prayer. In the midst of that depression, in the midst of feeling wounded and under attack, I didn't stay by myself and isolated. I reached out and got prayer and support. Incredibly important. If you need prayer and support, if you are struggling right now, and you are feeling like the roaring lion is prowling around, and you're feeling wounded and vulnerable, then I want you to reach out to someone, to text them, to call them, to knock on their door and say, I need to talk, whether it be a best friend, whether it be a pastor or whoever. But don't do this alone. And if you feel like it's appropriate, then leave a comment below. Invite people, the community around us in the social space, to pray for you. I certainly will pray for you. But I encourage you not to do this alone. You can stand firm. You can be strong, but you have to make the mental decision. That's the first few steps. You remind yourself through reading the word here. You remind yourself that you can resist him because we have a strong and powerful God. As it says in verse 11, which I didn't read, to him be the power forever and ever. God is powerful, and we need that power in times when we are feeling weak and wounded. God bless.